So my business, Rookie Mage Games, I make card games and board games, design them myself, sometimes illustrate them myself, and then I get them published. Sometimes I go to Kickstarter, I do the Kickstarter campaign, but then I work with a manufacturing company to get them made, and then I sell them either online or through stores. So it's a very fun gig. I like to say it's like most other businesses, 90% of it is the boring sales forecasting and logistics.
Yes,
but that 10% is really cool.
So how did you get into this business?
So it was really just a game night at my cousin's. My husband and I were over there just playing party games, for the night like we did, once a month for years. And then my cousin just kind of leans over and nudges me and says, hey, I think you would actually be really good at making one of these. And it's like one of those cartoon light bulbs, just like, oh yes, I could. Because I've always kind of been like the creative person, I guess, in the family.
Yeah.
Like I was always the one that I would make my cousins do plays. When we were little, I would write plays and we would do plays at family things. And I had worked in marketing. I've done illustrations and graphic design. I just never really found that kind of like thing that I could do myself and really create a new experience compared to kind of what was out there. And when she suggested that, I'm like, I can do every single part of this process. Like I know all of it. Just no one had ever put it in my brain that I had all that stuff. So on the ride home, I'm literally talking to my husband. I'm like, I'm going to call my first game Don't Get Stabbed. It's going to be about this. It's going to work like that. And he's just kind of doing the, okay, dear, whatever you say. But then the next day, I went on Amazon. I ordered blank poker cards and a bunch of magic markers and got to work. And a couple weeks later, went back to that same game night with my cousins and had them try this game that I made. What was just my scratching on cards, and they loved it. And they're like, all right, well, you found your thing. You have to do something with it. So went to Kickstarter, got that funded because I didn't have the money to produce it. I didn't even have the money.
Who does? Whoever really has the money to start a night, right?
Yeah, and I didn't even have the money for an illustrator. So after work, I would go to the public library and watch YouTube videos about how to do digital illustration because I knew I couldn't afford it. Like, I have to do this myself. This is my biggest weakness. So I did the whole art for it. So I got it to Kickstarter, got it funded, and then it came in around October 2019 is when I got my first thing in, and it was sold out the second week of December.
So how did you feel when you first saw the actual product in your hands? What did you feel like?
It was I feel like it was holding your baby for the first time. It's interesting because it's so everything about me. It's all my kind of funny personality type stuff. I put in jokes. There's little things about the characters. I gave them traits that are mine. One of them plays a saxophone in one of the cards as a joke, but they're playing a saxophone because I played the saxophone in high school.
Wow.
All their names, all the characters have names. You don't really know it; they don't matter. But
right.
About them, they all have names, and they're all named after something in my life. Of the cheerleader girl, her name is Penny, and that's after Penelope, which was a character from this random video game that I played in the 90s that almost no one has ever heard of. But to me, it's something.
Right.
So that's what this game is. Almost every single little aspect of it, I've tried to put, for one, part of me into it, but also all of my hard work is now literally in a physical form that
that you can share with everyone.
Yeah. And even years and years after I'm long gone, some kid's going to go through their grandpa's closet and find an old board game called Don't Get Stabbed and maybe play it. And that is just something that really, warms your heart to sound corny, but it's a part of me is now just out in all these other people's homes. spending game night with them, so that's kind of how I feel of like, it's just this, it's like I said, it's my baby.
How many games have you developed, like total?
I've developed 7 games. Don't Get Stabbed is the biggest one and the first one.
Okay.
I've done games called Oh Nuts, which is about squirrels fighting nuts over the winter. I have a game called Nuns with Nunchucks, which is a battle game. There's a game called Portal Potties, which the premise of the game. So my nephews were getting mad because when I first started, I was making like adult level games, and they so they weren't allowed to play those. So they were mad of like, Uncle Jordan's making games and we can't play them. How is this fair? So I told them like, all right, I'll make a kids game. I'll let you even pick what it's about. And they, of course, being 7 and 8, picked poop. So I have a game that is about wizards that lose their jobs, so they go into the porta potty business and they use their magic to teleport poop back and forth to overflow their toilets and put them out of business.
That is funny. And you can buy it. So your business, so you do this full time. Like this has been your business for years.
About 3 years I've been full time. I went part time for about a year and a half to 2 years. But then you kind of finally was like, it's time to do full time. The job just keeps getting bigger and bigger and requiring more of my time. So it was needed to be done. But it's also great because it provides a level of freedom that you never really have in like a 9-to-5 job, but also gives you a level of stress that you don't have in a
don't I know it
job.
Speaking of stress, how did you like go about getting your first manufacturing cluster, like vendor, and knowing like how that whole process works? Because I think that's important as we move forward in the conversation, so people understand like what it all entails with the shipping and the purchasing time and where you went to place your orders and how that because for our job here at Americanish, our goal is to really bring the public into everyday life. So I'll tell you, we don't pick sides, but I think what's missing is the opportunity to just know people and know how this impacts people at a personal level. So when you don't see your poop game on the shelves this holiday, you know why and what's going on. So how does that process work for people?
So when I got into this, I'd had a marketing experience and creative experience, but one experience I had none of was really manufacturing and logistics. So that is all new stuff.
So the manufacturing is one point, and then logistics is something else.
Yep.
Got it. Education for me. Okay.
So the first thing I did was I found a Facebook group of other kind of designers for board games like me, and huge resource. It's one of the things that's I do want to focus on the gaming industry is a lot of industries think of their competing companies as rivals or adversaries.
True.
In our industry, most of us really think of each other as peers.
That's how you should. That's how people should think, though.
Yeah, like we go when we have conventions, which is normally when we see each other. We go out to eat after, like all of us.
Yeah.
And like we're never trying to take each other's businesses down. We normally share of like, hey, I had this idea. I'm not going to use it. Someone else want it.
Right.
And it's great because like a lot of times when I do some of these conventions, I'm doing them myself. But it's great because then if I need a quick restroom break, I know the person beside me is, for one, not only going to watch all my stuff, I've had them sell my stuff. People walked up and they're like, here, I sold 2 of your games. Here's your $40. And like, I've done that vice versa. So the industry is very connected and very willing to help each other. So,
but I think that was good too, that there's a Facebook group for what you're trying to do. Right. Yeah. So I never thought about that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, there's actually several. Like there's so many great resources. So I went to these Facebook groups and just posted like, hey, I need to get something manufactured. I don't know if I'm going to do it yet because I need to at that point figure out how much it costs to make it.
You're singing to the choir now.
And how much to charge for it. Right. So like you have to get samples and work with them and like get all the specs and everything. Several companies got recommended as like kind of like the big ones in the industry that will do small runs. Because being especially a first time game designer, 1,000 units was probably the lowest that you could go. That becomes problematic because there's very few that will do that, but also short runs also lead to a higher unit cost. So, you're paying more per unit, but you don't get as much to get your money back. You see,
that's true.
Scale type stuff. But because of that, there's a lot of companies that just will not take people that are under a 5,000 order. I've talked like we don't talk to anybody unless it's a $50,000 unit or 50,000 unit order. And that's one of the biggest problems with the few manufacturing things that we do have here in the United States when it comes to board games and board game components. Most of them, they're not going to do these short runs that small businesses need. They're thinking they're there for like Hasbro, the big names everyone knows. That's what they're there for. They're not here for us small businesses that are only doing a couple units. So I found a company, worked with them, got it done. But then there's after it's manufactured, it's getting it from China. And when I say China, it's because basically almost all these companies are located there. I do not, from what I understand, the reason for that, and I'm not going to pretend to be an economist, but in the 1980s, that there was something set up with China specifically for toys to have 0% tariffs. And that's what led to that whole industry basically ending up in China. Because it was 0% when I started. It was 0% tariffs on all games and everything coming out of China.
So can you, for people who are listening, can you explain to them just in a layman's term, what is a tariff? Because people, I don't think most people understand, not in their ignorance, but it may not be their industry.
Yep. So tariffs at its very core value is a tax. It's a tax on products that are coming in from a foreign country into the United States that is paid for by the importer. So that's the company that ordered them, to be brought to the United States and is then going to sell them in the United States.
So do you pay for the tax when you order it, or do you pay for the tax after you receive it?
You pay for the tax literally when it is in the port, and they do not let it out of the port until you pay for it.
So when it arrives here, that's when you pay the tariff tax. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So tariffs, I want to kind of really always make this clear because I still to this day have these arguments with people of China and foreign countries do not pay these. I know the administration and some other people keep trying to say that, China pays for this. They don't. And I've literally started just bringing around my bill because people don't believe me. And I'm like, I have the bill right here. Like, what else do you want? Oh
my God, that's why I love you, John. Okay. Because people don't know. And that's why we do the show, because people can understand, without being preached at. Like, this is what it really is. So when it comes in port, the business pays it.
Yeah.
It's not China. The business, and is that's for the toy industry, or everyone? Period.
But it's basically for right now. It's every industry, and we can get into that too of how just doing blanket tariffs are just a bad idea. But for right now, it's basically anything coming in this country from almost any country now has a tariff to it that will vary depending on the country and the president's mood that week.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. So the tariff is paid for when it enters the country at port, and that's when it sits in the shipping containers, correct?
Yep. It's going to sit there until you pay it, and then
so if you don't have the money to pay it, what happens?
I believe eventually it just gets destroyed.
Wow. Okay.
And that was a huge problem when this first started of people already had stuff on the boat that was then coming in. So when you put those tariffs in overnight, okay, so let's talk about my we're going to do a theoretical with mine. So
Okay.
my latest order came in, it was at 20% tariff. When I ordered it, because it's a long ordering process. It's 4 to 6 months from when you order something to when it actually hits the shelves.
Okay.
Well, until you actually get it, then hitting the shelves is a whole nother thing. But that's also part of the reason we haven't seen this effect as much, is because it takes that long to come down the chain, but it is coming.
So we'll see it. We're feeling it during Christmas time. Christmas may be a little light.
Back to school is probably going to be the first time people notice shelves not having the things they did last year, and the things they do being more expensive.
Gotcha.
Going through Christmas, because Christmas is such a huge season, is probably going to be a very different scenario than it was last year.
Okay.
So I kind of forgot where I was.
The scenario.
So mine came in at 20%. So I paid just a little over $3,000 as a tariff, which, to Donald Trump and these people, like, that's nothing. But to me, that's like months worth of groceries. That's like a lot of marketing budget. That's a huge impact on my plan for the year. Now, if it had come in 2 weeks later, got delayed for whatever reason, and it came in at that 145% tariff he was doing for a while, that would have cost me over $21,000.
Oh my God.
And I would have had no way to pay that. My stuff would have been destroyed. I would have been out of business.
Wow.
And that's why there was this sudden panic, because stuff's on the way. Stuff's ready. All that money is locked up, or even if it's not on a boat, that inventory is sitting in a warehouse in China, not making people money. They're paying for the warehouse for it to stay there in hopes that someone.
So both sides feel it. It's not just China, but it's also the business owner. So what happens then so it's destroyed, but let's say it comes in, yours was 3,000. If it was 145% tariff, it would have been, oh my God, I can't even think, like
21,000.
21,000. You know the number, $21,000.
Oh yeah, I know.
Crazy. For people who don't know, for a small business owner, that is a salary in some cases. That's your marketing budget for 2 years. That's overhead, operating fees, because we feel it a lot more. We don't have the cushion as a small business owner. I have a professional services company. That's my day job. You don't feel the cushion as much like you do with the larger companies, because they can spread it out over several products, right?
Yep.
So with that being said, what happens then? What's the impact on the consumer?
Well, the first thing is that small businesses start going out of business, and that has already happened in our industry. There have been a couple that I know have gone under, or at least done a layoff of some people that was expecting, that they're going to have to pay the higher tariff. So that's already starting to happen in our industry. But then the second thing is that when people get to Christmas and everything, their selection is going to be much, much lower than what it was. There's a lot of places that I know still have their stuff over in China, because they were basically almost like market loss products. They weren't planning on making a lot of money off of them, but it was something they needed to fill the shelf. Well, now those are no longer profitable.
I'm sorry, what's a market loss profit for people?
It's a product that sometimes the store will have that they run a super deal on, that they're basically almost making no money on, but it gets people in the door.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good information.
And that happens in everything, because like there's lots of times like people want to control the category. So like if you go into a store, you see Barbies and all these other ones, but Barbie just wants to have as much space as possible for their products. So they're going to make a lot of products, some of them knowing they're not going to make a lot off of them, but they want a full shelf because that's what Walmart and Target want. They want that whole thing kind of filled up with stuff. So the more products you have, the more easy you are to deal with, because that's only one vendor they have to work with. But man, they take up a whole shelf. When you're a 1 or 2, 3 product company, that's a lot harder to work with. So they're willing to have smaller margins, just knowing that they're going to get bigger ones on their bigger products to kind of monopolize that shelf space.
So if you have 10 Barbies, you know your breakout stars are, let's say, 2 different types of Barbies.
Yep.
Then those two Barbies are the ones that you make your money off of, but the other 8 are just sit there.
Potentially, yeah. It's a much lower margin. Like you think of like if you got accessories for it, or like a dollhouse or whatever. Some of those might be very, very razor thin margins because they're just there to support the headline product.
Okay.
So if you have a product that is razor thin margin of profit, and now you're dealing with the 30% tariff, that now might not be economically feasible to bring in. You actually lose money on it.